Hey, good evening. So glad that you guys can join me. We're just getting set up here, and we are looking forward to spending some time with you guys. And I hope to be able to give you some great insight. If you're just joining into us, let me know in the comments that you're here. Let me know, make sure that you can hear me pretty well. Very excited to see you guys. Very excited to have you guys here. We're going to be talking about communication tonight. It is one of the most important subjects that you and I can have. I mean, because we communicate with everybody, whether it be through text, whether it be verbal, whether it be, nonverbal through our body languages. So I want to give you some great tips on how to communicate in your serious relationship. I put serious relationship because not everybody's married. But what I'm going to talk about is really going to be about things that you can use in every single relationship, in every single situation when you're dealing with people, when you're interacting with people. These are principles that are going to be better, they're going to be stronger for you, so that when you put them into your life, when you put them into what you're doing, you know that you'll be able to communicate more effectively. Because isn't that the thing that we're trying to do? Matter of fact, when I did a poll, I did a little thing on my Facebook, and I said, hey, what is one thing you're struggling with in your relationships? And I'm going to tell you, when I put that up there, more and more people were like, we're struggling with communication. We're struggling with communication. Now, some were struggling with other things, conflict and different stuff, but there's a lot of people that were saying we were struggling with communication. So when I did that poll, that was the number one thing that came out. And if that's something you're dealing with right now, then let me know in the comments. Say, hey, I'm dealing with that as well, and then we'll go from there. Remember, this is a time. Sean, good to see you. I'm a guy who really wants to give you steps and practices and practical things. Why? Because I believe that if you don't have practical steps, then you're not going to be able to do it in your life. So I'm out there and I'm listening to a lot of different things, and I hear a lot of theory, like you should be doing this. Hey Alex, good seeing you. I hear a lot of theory, like you should be doing this and this is the ideal. Well, I like to give you steps. We put out problems, but there's also has to be a solution, because we need to be problem solvers, not problem finders. So let me just get into here, and again, hit me up in the comments, do some sharing. I'm just going to adjust this real quick. There you go. And we're going to talk about communication. And I'm not talking about from the stage. I'm talking about your everyday communication. Hey, Wendy, good to see you. Communication has always been an issue in my marriage. Well, I'm going to give you 3 things tonight. It's not going to be a long cast. That is going to help you if you start using them. So let me just say this. Communication that I'm talking about today is not communication from a stage. It's not about preaching or teaching. I've been a professional speaker for a while, but this here is about communicating for a transformation in your relationships. So let's get started. The first thing I've got to tell you, and this is one of those mind-blowing things that you may not even think about, and one of the things is that when I say it, you're going to be like, man, that was kind of stupid. Because the first thing in communication is you actually have to communicate. You have to take time to talk. You have to take time set apart to where you can literally use words with one another, ask questions. Now, why did I start with that? Because most of us live our lives from a place of assumption. We assume we know what the person is saying. We assume what they're thinking. We assume what they're feeling. And it's often based on what we feel, but we never really ask them. And what happens? That creates miscommunication, misunderstanding, and ultimately a lot of people are hurt. A lot of people are living in this place where I'm hurt, I'm damaged, I don't want to talk to you, so I'm going to keep to myself. And I'm going to tell you guys, if you don't make time to talk and actually build the relationship, that's a relationship killer. Betty, you know what? That's a great point. It always ends in fights. As we get into this, there's two other things I'm going to share with you, and I hope that kind of solves. And if you want to go into a little deeper, throw up some questions on here, and then afterwards, if you want to message me and you can go back and forth, and I can maybe give you a little bit more. But see, the thing is going through that first one, you actually have to talk. And when you're not talking, there's a lot of tension. Does any of you guys watching, do you ever feel that tension when you're just not talking, when you're just really kind of too afraid, too passive, so afraid that you want to hurt somebody's feelings? And in a relationship, that is a killer. Because when I'm trying to communicate with my wife, if I don't communicate with her and I hold it all in, and when do you say you do the same thing? It's internalized. And when I hold it in because I'm too afraid to hurt her, in essence, I'm not communicating. And I'm going to tell you, it comes out somewhere. You're angry, you're frustrated. It will come out somewhere. That's why communication is so important, because it helps to relieve the tension, the stress, when done properly, apart from your hurts, to be able to communicate for change, not communicate just information. So you've got to have that time, and that's my practical step. My big bullet point step is you've got to make time. So put it on your schedule. If you're a busy person, put it on that calendar of yours and say, I will make time to talk to so-and-so. Because you will have tasks forever. Your to-do list, have to-do list. But I want to tell you guys, you need to put those conversations on your calendar, because you want to do that. If you're married tonight, if you're married or in a real serious relationship, make time to talk. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Start with that, and then go from there. Causes resentment? It does. It can cause resentment. Misdirection, Sean, you're absolutely right, does cause misdirection too. So that first thing is be consistent and make time to talk. So if that person is really important to you, then make time to talk. Say, I'm going to make this time, and put that on your calendar. The second thing is, and this gets into that little bit of uncomfortable area for us, because it means we have to put the other person first. In our communication styles, we seek to be understood before we seek to understand. That is the wrong way to do this. And every one of us is generally guilty. Have you ever been in a conversation? Here's this. Have you ever been in a conversation where you're listening to the person talking, but everything you're doing is to lead them to the place that you want to talk to them about? And your whole conversation, you'll have conversations in your head, and you know how you want this conversation to go, and you purposely lead the other person to the point you're trying to make. That is a troublesome spot, because conversations are supposed to be fluid. And if I'm thinking about you first, what I'm doing is seeking to understand your heart, your mind, and your point of view. But if I'm seeking for you to understand me, then that puts me in a place where I don't care about what you think. I want you to know what I think. And if you're communicating that way, here's the problem with that. You come off as unloving. You come off as arrogant. You come off as you don't care. And that's the problem right there. And when you're trying to get into deeper communications, when you're trying to have that dynamic relationship that you deserve, do you hear that? Not that you want, but that you deserve, that dynamic, deep, mature relationship, then you've got to put the other person first. And this is the place, and this is the practical action step, bullet point thing, is learn to ask questions. We're really good at giving information, but we suck at asking questions. And I'm going to tell you, the heart of a person is unlocked with the right questions. So guys, that first step was about making time to talk, to really put that on your schedule, that practical application of that. The second one about putting others first, to seek to understand before I'm understood, to earn the right to speak in their lives. And you start that with asking questions. And when you start asking questions, people want to know more about you as well. They want to know what you think, what's on your heart, because you took the time to care and validate what they believe and what they think and what they feel. That it opens up a beautiful conversation. Is there going to be resentment, bitterness, anger? Absolutely, because that brings us into the other part, the last principle that I want to share with you. Be a student of the person you're with. As married people, let me speak to marriages first. You're with this person for life, okay? I'm a faith-based guy, and I believe marriage is long-term. I believe marriage is lifelong. Been with my wife 18 years, and for some of you guys who don't know the story, my wife and I are pretty open about this. My wife has mental illness. So we've struggled through a lot of things throughout our lives, but it's been 18 years that God has really helped us get through and learning how to love each other and getting through that. Guess what, guys? 18 years where mental illness is present isn't a joke. It's a commitment. And we take our relationships too lightly, and we don't learn the other person's style. We don't learn their hurts. We don't learn their personalities. And I think if you're going to be an incredible communicator when it comes to relationships, you've got to be the student of the person you're with. So what is their love language? And if you've never heard of that, that is a book by Gary Chapman called The Love Languages, and it's broken down into 5. And I always miss one when I say them, but we'll see if I can get them. Service, word of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, and gift giving. Yeah, I got it right. I'm real excited about that because usually I miss one. But those are the love languages, and you speak one of those as a major love language and a secondary one. Mine's word of affirmation. So when my wife communicates words of affirmation, man, I'm ready to listen to whatever she wants to say. When she wants to hug me, man, I'm a hugger. I'm going to hug it out. So when those languages are spoken, I'm open up to these things. However, when my wife is not that, thanks, Wendy, I appreciate that very much. Now, my wife is not a word of affirmation, so I could sit there and affirm her all day, but that's not her love language. Her love language is quality time. She wants me to sit there and be present. That means get off the idiot box. That means turn the TV off and just be present. It could be 5 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever, but it's be present. So if I want to get to be in a communication style with her, I've got to do that first. The second thing is learn each other's personality. Hey, Sydney, learn each other's personality. I hate lots and lots of details. I'm not a detailed person. My wife is super detail-oriented. But I'm going to tell you, when we communicate, because I'm a student, I have to give her more details. Do I like doing that? No. But I learned to give her what she needs and be content in it because she needs more detail. And I don't need as much detail. As a matter of fact, I don't want as much detail. But it's that learning each other. And then here's the most important part. Okay, you ready for this? Here's the most important part. You've got to learn their pain centers. You've got to learn what triggers their pain centers. Some of you guys commented here below that you said ends in fights, ends in resentment. You're triggering a pain center. That doesn't mean you have to stop the conversation. What that means is you've got to go about it a different way, because if the pain center is triggering, there's something deeper happening. So if something deeper is happening and you're trying to talk about finances and they're flipping out, that means there's a pain center that was triggered. So as a student of my wife, as a student, you as a student of your spouse or your serious relationship, if maybe you're engaged, maybe you've been dating for 6 years and you're hoping you get engaged, you've got to learn those pain centers and how to communicate and navigate through them, because every time you hit the pain center, they're going to trigger and you're going to end in a fight. So those are the ones that you have to back up and go about it a different way. Okay, so that's being a student. And just to kind of go with that pain point here, not pain point, but that practical point. Remember, I'm a real practical guy. Here's the big practical point for me for this one. Learn to listen. You were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, because you've got to listen twice as much as you speak. So one of the things that we're terrible at is we're terrible at listening. And for my listeners and those who are watching that are great listeners, man, you need to get on one of these and teach us how to listen better at times, because many of us don't listen at times very good or very well. And so for this practical point is learning to be a listener. Let me go a little bit practical. Here you go. I'm going to get a little bit more pragmatic. Shut up when they're talking. Don't overtalk them. Don't cut them off trying to make your point known. Be still in that. Hey Sharon, thanks for joining us. Be still. Don't try to dominate the conversation, because remember, our second point was put the other person first. So if you're putting the other person first, asking questions, don't dominate the conversation. Listen, that's our third practical thing. Listen more than you talk so that you can speak to those things. And then our first practical thing on learning to be an effective communicator was to make time to speak. So that's really kind of where we're at. And it's funny, I may have to push this camera back a little bit because I talk with my hands and I'm talking my hands off screen. So here's the deal. Those three things, real quick recap. If you haven't heard it, effective communication. Number one, make time. Put it on your calendar. Number two, put the other person first. Ask questions. And number three, become a student of the other person. And then in that particular practical point is learn to listen. Okay? Now, there are 3 levels of communication, and then I'm done. I'm peacing out, and I'm going to share this. This was not original from me. This was actually, the 3 levels of communication was in this book called Love Talk. It's by Lee and Les Parrott. If you want a book, I love recommending resources. That's a beautiful book to read about communication. Now, one of the things is they say there are 3 levels of communication, and you tell me where you are in the comments. The first one is the grunt level. Man, you just talk enough just to be known. There's not much else going on. It's just like, and they're like, whatever. It's when you come home, nothing else is really said. You go about your business. You just make yourself known. The second level is a journalistic level. You share facts and opinions. Well, maybe you went to church on Sunday. Well, how was the sermon? Well, I didn't like it. I was really ready for lunch, or it was great. You share facts and opinion. And that third level of communication is where we want to get to. This is where we want to get to, is to be able to get to the feeling level. The feeling level is where trust is built, maturity is developing, and that I can sit down with you and share my heart, my feelings, and my thoughts, and be in a place of trust that we will communicate in a beautiful way. Those are the 3 levels. Do me a favor, guys. Sharon, I am a talker too. And that can be a problem because my wife's a super listener and I'm a super talker. But we try to change that up sometimes, and I try to get her talking and she tries to get me to shut up. Because remember, this is about effective communication. If you missed this message, if you missed this training, shoot it back to the beginning. You're going to want to take it. You're going to want to take it in, take notes, share the video, tag somebody in it. But what I don't want to see is you guys who are married, don't tag your husband or wife and say, hey, this was for you. You may want to tag them and say, hey, this helped me out. I want to share it with you. That's a better way to communicate that. And one of the things is, guys, do me a favor, share this video. If you in the comments want me to go in depth any more than this, I'm doing live videos and trainings 3 times a week, and I want to be able to give you the most value. Because I'm a coach, I've been a pastor for 15 years, in ministry for 15 years. I want to give you the most value. Okay, guys? So in this value proposition, if you valued this, Dave, I love the hearts. Thank you, man. And please share it with your friends. I want to get training out because I want you to have the most dynamic relationships you can. In the comments, I'm going to throw in my new group. I just started the group. There's 15 of us in there, and I want to grow that group. What it is, it's called The Gathering. I'm going to start doing special trainings in that particular group because I want to go deeper. We're going to talk about a lot of relationship building things, but that's going to be in the group. Share this. If you have any more questions, please hit me up. If there's a specific training that you want to see, relationship building, personal development, throw that in the comments as well, because I would love to engage with you on that. Thanks, Dave. So good to see you, man. Thanks, Sharon. I love seeing you, and I love that. And hopefully maybe you can be part of that. Again, I just want to give you the most value that I can give because I want to see you thrive. I want to see you kill it. I want to see you be the best you can in this life. Man, guys, thank you for hanging in with me. I'll throw that link in the comments, and I will be seeing you soon. I do this 3 times a week. We're going to do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tune on in, and we'll be talking to you soon.